WFLA Now will begin momentarily. WFLA Now will begin momentarily. Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here is JB Buno.
One person found dead as an armed suspect barricades in Wimauma in a standoff with SWAT that began early this morning. You're looking at video from earlier this morning from Eagle 8 HD. We have the latest in a live report coming your way here on WFLA Now. Hey there, folks. JB here with you live. You might have been seeing some of the notifications on WFLA.com, the WFLA app this morning about a standoff unfolding in Wimauma. We have the latest, but want to let you know if you're not watching this video live, the very latest for you is on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. You can click on the link in the description on this video. You might see it in the pinned comment below, and you'll have the very latest on one person found dead during an armed standoff in Wimauma, Florida. For the very latest, let's bring in, joining us from the scene, WFLA News Channel 8's Beth Rousseau. Beth, you've been there all morning long. You get in there around 6 o'clock this morning. What is the latest? I understand there is some activity at the scene. Can you paint a picture as to what's going on at this hour?
Hey, JB. Yeah, we've actually seen a lot evolve since we got here around 6 o'clock this morning. What hasn't changed, though, is that we're being kept about a half a mile back. You can see where traffic is being diverted off of State Road 674 here in Wimauma. We've got the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office blocking off this portion of the road. That's been happening all morning long. Like I mentioned, we got here right around 6 o'clock this morning. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office initially telling us that there was an armed man barricaded in basically a shed-like structure about half a mile down the road from where we are, with another person in that shed. Now, as I mentioned, this has evolved since we got here this morning. They tell us that a person later on, a victim, was found dead outside the shed, while that armed man still barricaded inside the shed with another individual. A lot of questions surrounding this, of course. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office themselves saying that they do not exactly know the relation of the armed man as well as the person that was in the shed with him. You can see a number of resources still coming in from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office here on State Road 674 in Wimauma, but we've also seen a number of resources leave this area as well. So there are still things evolving here out at this scene that we're seeing. But again, the latest update from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office is that one victim found dead outside a shed where a man, an armed man, is barricaded inside with another individual. And these negotiators have been out here since well before we arrived at 6 o'clock this morning. We're not just talking about negotiators, we're also talking about the bomb squad as well as those SWAT team members that are out here as well. Also important to point out that this is a fairly rural but residential area, so families have been evacuated from their home. Again, a precautionary measure that they're taking out here. They tell us that there does not appear to be any threat to the public. Keep in mind that even once this SWAT standoff ends, this does still remain an active homicide investigation because they found that one person dead outside the shed in the midst of this SWAT standoff here in Wimauma. That's the latest update from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office that we've received. Again, keep in mind if you're heading this way in Wimauma, State Road 674, that there is a diversion of traffic here off State Road 674. It's closed between 7th and Maggie Streets. That's where all of this is unfolding and has been all morning long. That's what we've been gathering out here for the latest. But we are keeping in touch with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office because, JB, as you know, these things can evolve fairly quickly and change fairly quickly, especially when you're dealing with a standoff situation.
Yeah, and want to let our audience know, wherever you're watching from, this video from Eagle 8 HD in the center of your screen, this was recorded earlier. We're not going to, of course, show Eagle 8 HD live during an armed standoff situation. You do not want that to interfere at all with the standoff itself. You can use either of the hashtags that you see on your screen to ask us a question. I know that there's been a lot of questions about this story. I'll answer the first one that has just kind of flooded in at the moment that we began this stream. Wimauma, Florida is where Beth is and where this is unfolding. And that's southeastern Hillsborough County. So for those of you outside the viewing area, that's southeast of Tampa, still part of the Tampa Bay area. We're gonna get to this first question, Beth. It comes in from Dan Evans, and he says, hashtag KJB, any police officers hurt? Or have we heard anything about any officers, their involvement, and whether or not we have any injuries involving officers at this time?
Always a big concern and a big question that we get when we're at this type of scenario. So far throughout the morning, we have not heard anything about any injuries to officers or the SWAT team members or the bomb team members. So that's a very good thing to hear when you're dealing with a situation like this. Of course, we are staying in touch with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office so that we can provide you any updates. Should we hear that, that will definitely be something that will update everybody out just as soon as possible.
So let's go over what we know about the people involved, Beth, and let's make sure that we have one person that has been found dead during this armed standoff, as we understand it. We also have the armed man who has been barricaded inside a structure, of course, the focal point of the ongoing investigation here. And then is there somebody else, or did we hear word of, again, somebody else inside with that armed suspect as well? Can you, again, kind of make sense of the people that we have involved at this time?
Absolutely. So it is a little bit confusing because the number of people keeps growing, right? So the victim who was found dead is actually outside of the shed where this armed man is barricaded. And additionally, there's another person in that shed with the armed man who has barricaded himself in the shed. Now, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office tells us that they do think that the man who is armed and barricaded himself in the shed is responsible for the death of the victim found on the property. But again, they're still trying to piece together what the connection is between the two people that are in the shed. The one man armed and barricaded, another person in there with them. They're not going as far as to say this is a hostage situation, but they say they are still trying to piece together what the exact relationship is there.
And it could be that we are getting an update at some point soon. That's entirely possible. You did note that Beth was talking about vehicles appearing to leave the scene. Now, that does not mean we have to, of course, go by the latest information that we received, that we pass along to you, then the public. So the latest information that we have from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, the lead agency on this case, is that this is a armed suspect, barricaded. It's a standoff involving SWAT in Wimauma, and of course, all the alerts, the subsequent alerts were put out after that. Beth, you were noting earlier too that negotiators are on the scene. I know, can you describe to us exactly how far away you are? Of course, the media is going to be kept a relatively safe distance away, but how far are you away from where this negotiation has been taking place between negotiators and the armed suspect?
Sure thing. So not only are media going to be kept away, a good distance away, they've also evacuated families from right down here, State Road 674. You see that Hillsborough County deputy that's blocking off the road. We're about a half a mile from where all of this is unfolding. Again, it's in a shed-like structure is what the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office is telling us. And you can see the flashing lights down there. It might be a little tough to tell in the video from Eagle 8 HD. You could probably get a better idea, but there is a large police presence that's been out here all morning on. Keep in mind, we have seen some of those resources leave the scene in probably about the past 30, 35, 40 minutes. But as we see those resources leave, we see different resources come in, right? We just saw 2 forensics vans that come in because keep in mind, even after this SWAT standoff ends, this again becomes a homicide investigation because of that man found dead on the property. So a lot of resources coming and going, and you likely can expect that for a good portion of the rest of the day, just because investigators have to do their work even after, if and when the SWAT standoff ends and the bomb and SWAT teams clear off, then they have to go in and do their work. Just for a little reference, if anyone's familiar with the Wimauma area, this is on State Road 674, right across from the Dollar General, where we're staging. is about 2 miles away from US 301. So I'm trying to give you kind of that pinpointed location of where this is unfolding. And again, if you are familiar with Waimama, State Road 674, Maggie Streets to 7th Streets, that area is blocked off. So they're diverting traffic around that. And they have been since we got out here around 6 o'clock this morning, even longer than that negotiators have been here on the scene. And again, even once their work is done, this is still an active homicide investigation. So you can expect it to stay this way and to see this roadblock for really throughout the rest of the day.
Again, as we're looking here at Eagle 8 HD video recorded earlier, we've got WFLA's Beth Rousseau at the scene joining us live here on WFLA Now. One thing that's very apparent from this Eagle 8 HD video, Beth, is just the size of this response, not just by the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, but I believe that there are other agencies represented as well. How many vehicles have you spotted there this morning, and what other agencies are involved as far as the response here in Waimama?
I will tell you that I wouldn't even venture a guess. Pete's going to show you the forensic van that just pulled up on the scene. We saw 2 more of those within the last 5 minutes arrive here. I can tell you, I wouldn't even venture a guess how many vehicles or agencies are involved in this at this point, because when I saw the scene and pulled up here this morning, I was surprised by how large of a presence there was. We've seen tactical vehicles, armored vehicles. You've got the HCSO command center that appears to be down there. Keep in mind, we have not been allowed down there just as a safety precaution, but very large scene, dozens and dozens of investigators, negotiators, those bomb and SWAT team members as well that are here trying to negotiate with this individual, and then after that, trying to get the investigation into this homicide. Vantage point of all of the resources that they're putting into this out here. And they also, we've seen you know, those SWAT team members with their guns out, ready to roll. We've heard flashbangs. So it actually has been a very active scene out here, not just in the last 30 minutes, but throughout the morning as they try and resolve this situation in Waimama, JB.
Beth joining us on the ground. Beth, if you listen closely, up in the air, you might hear Eagle 8 HD. Let's go live to Eagle 8 HD. So we were showing you video from earlier. From when Eagle was there this morning. Eagle has refueled and now returned to the scene. Now, Eagle is keeping a distance here and staying relatively zoomed out. This is for the purpose of cooperating with law enforcement on the ground. Beth, do you see Eagle 8 HD up in the air? And I think that we're staying really wide here just to, again, safety and the active law enforcement investigation is the top priority right now. But letting our folks know this is from Eagle 8 HD Live. Beth?
Yeah, so we are not actually hearing Eagle 8, but that's actually a good thing because HCSO, really any of the law enforcement agencies, when they're dealing with a SWAT standoff, bomb squad situation like this, they want those helicopters to be far away just in case anyone who is barricaded inside, that armed suspect that's barricaded inside, could be listening or watching or even have their phone out and be tuning in that way. They don't want them to have any idea of what these negotiators could be doing, because that's when you could really start putting law enforcement lives at risk. That is not what they want. So again, if you guys are seeing video from Eagle 8 HD, that's from a different vantage point that's much further away so that we can keep these officers out here safe and hopefully have a very calm, safe end to this situation here on State Road 674 in Waimama. Again, we have more resources that are just pouring in. We've seen it in the past 10, 15, 20 minutes. We saw a number of them leave and then even more come in. Not as many of those tactical armored vehicles coming down there that we've seen, but we've definitely seen the forensic vans that have been arriving and more deputies undercover, as well as marked cars that are headed down in that direction. As from the last update from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, there is a man who is armed, barricaded in a shed-like structure with another individual inside. Still working to get details on how all of this started and how it has been unfolding for them, but just based on what we have been able to tell you from being out here since 6 o'clock in the morning, a whole lot of resources are being poured into this. Again, SWAT team members, bomb team members, and negotiators out here trying to bring this to a peaceful close, JB.
Beth is going to be here with us for just another 5 or so minutes, folks, before we have to let her get going and continue to navigate the scene there in Waimama. But we're going to make this clear. This is our last call for any of your questions or your comments in the Facebook Live comment section. You can use hashtag HeyBeth if you'd like to ask Beth a question at the scene. I'm here at WFLA in Tampa. If you'd like to ask us a question, just use either hashtag HeyBeth or hashtag HeyJB. This is what we do as far as keeping you updated on the very latest on the stories that we cover. If we can answer questions for you, especially if you live in this area, again, we'll try to spend the next 5 minutes just taking as many questions as we can with our hashtag system here. Rachel asking Beth in our comment section, and let's make this clear too, folks, Beth is at the mercy of the information that she's been provided by from law enforcement, from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. But Rachel asking hashtag HeyJB, is this the resident of the home that is holed up? And I think what Rachel is asking, is the armed suspect the resident of that property that is the focal point of the investigation in Waimama?
All right, so this has been a little bit of a confusing point throughout the morning, I will tell you that. So what it is it's actually a shed-like structure is what they're telling us. They say it's not really big enough for them to call it a home, of course, them being the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. But what they're saying is they don't really know the relationship between the barricaded armed man and the person who's in that shed-like structure with him. They say that's what they've been trying to piece together this morning, while at the same time trying to get him unbarricaded and getting him to come out peacefully. Now, just outside that shed, in addition to that person who's in the shed with him, they found a dead victim who was killed by gunshot. They believe the man who's barricaded inside is responsible for that victim's death, but no word on who is barricaded inside with that armed man, what their relationship might be, or what their relationship to the house might be, or the shed-like structure, I should say, either.
We've got this question coming in. Thank you for that clarification, Beth. I think that helps a lot of our commenters who are commenting back at us. Romania with a comment in our comment section, hashtag HeyJB, praying for all, and the prayer emoji symbols there. Of course, we've been talking quite a bit on stream of late about gun violence in this country. I think that there are a lot of folks who are sending their prayers and have been sending their prayers in the comment section. There's still a lot of confusion in our comment section about exactly where you are, Beth. Joanna says, hashtag HeyJB, where is this exactly? Tanvir, hashtag JB, where is this happening? So again, this is southeastern Hillsborough County in Waimama. This is part of the Tampa Bay area, about half an hour or so southeast of Tampa, right, Beth? I mean, you left from the station to get to Waimama, so what was it, about a 20 to 30 minute drive, perhaps, or maybe a little bit more than that?
At 6 in the morning, it was a 33-minute drive down here from downtown Tampa. Again, this right here that we're standing along, that you see the sheriff's office blocking off, this is State Road 674. Where we are is just about 2 miles from US 301. You cross over into Waimama, and then where the sheriff's office is blocking off the road is half a mile to where this SWAT standoff is unfolding. If you're familiar with the Waimama area, it's right across the street from the Dollar General. That's on State Road 674. Super familiar with the area. If you drive in this area all the time, you're gonna know that 7th Street to Maggie Streets, they're closed because of this. It's happening right on State Road 674. And like I mentioned, our drive was about 30 minutes from downtown Tampa to get here southbound on 75, getting off on the exit for Riverview area.
We have a good question that just came in, Beth, from Raymond. Raymond says, hashtag JB, when will people be able to go back to their homes? I don't know. We don't have a definitive answer to this question, correct?
Yeah, no definitive answer, because that really depends on how long the SWAT standoff takes, how long it is before that man who's armed and barricaded is able to come out and either peacefully get this over with negotiators, or unfortunately comes to some other form of end. But I know that the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office is not going to allow those families to go back to their homes until this is at a complete close, because again, that not only puts those families at risk, but then it puts law enforcement at an added risk, because they have to watch out for all those family members and make sure that nothing happens to them. So there's not a definitive answer on this. Actually, it's why we're out here, so that we can keep you updated on not only what's evolving with that SWAT standoff situation, but also that we can let families know and all their loved ones know when they are able to go back into their homes here in Waimama.
The last question we're going to take from our commenters comes from Kristen, and it's hashtag JB. Have the cops been able to get a response from the person barricaded in the shed? It's a good question. Now, have we been given that information specifically, Beth?
It's a good question. It's one that we all have. We've not been specifically given that information from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. So again, I wouldn't even venture a guess on it. I'm assuming negotiators have been out there all morning. They are very skilled at their jobs. Again, you can see this is where they've been blocked off. There's a number of resources down there. Again, SWAT team members, bomb team members, those negotiators that have been trying to talk with this armed, barricaded man all morning long, trying to get him to come out. Again, keep in mind that he has that other person who's barricaded in that shed with him, and then through their investigation, they found a victim dead on the side of that shed. They have been trying to talk with this man all morning long. We have asked them whether or not they've been able to get in contact with him. They haven't been able to clarify that for us at this point, but you better believe it's a question that we're going to continue asking them so that we can bring you those updates just as soon as we have them, JB.
And we have one last question that just came in here, Beth, and it's a quick one, and it's #HeyBeth from Fonda Norton. Were the businesses evacuated? It says evaluated on screen, but I think she meant evacuated. The post office and the Dollar General. Do you know if they were evacuated as a result of this standoff that unfolded?
Based on my knowledge from asking the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, everyone who was in and around this shed-like structure has been evacuated, and I believe that those weren't even open this morning at 6 o'clock when we arrived here. Keep in mind that these negotiators, the SWAT team members, bomb team members, they got here even earlier than us, so those businesses probably not even open yet when they evacuated the families.
Beth, thanks so much for joining us. Before we let you go, it's very common when we have situations like this unfold that you will see Sheriff Chad Chronister, in this case it being Hillsborough County, Sheriff Chad Chronister will arrive at the scene. Sometimes you'll see, and you know this of course better than most, you'll see activities such as either like a podium being set up, or you'll see the public information officer come over to talk to the media. Have we seen Sheriff Chronister? And also too, is there any indication of any kind of update coming your way any point soon before we let you go here on WFLA Now?
So there's no podium that's being set up, nothing like that. I will tell you, I follow the sheriff on Twitter. He has posted pictures from the scene this morning, which leads me to believe not only that he's here with these negotiators trying to get this to come to a peaceful resolve, but also that he will be speaking with the media at some point. The only indication that I have that we could receive some update sometime soon is the change in resources that we've seen in the last 30 minutes, right? We saw a number of officers. You can see Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office deputy coming off of the scene now. We saw those forensic vans that went onto the scene. You see more people coming off the scene. That leads us to believe that there's been some sort of evolution, some sort of movement, some sort of change that we could be receiving an update at some point in the near future.
Beth Rousseau, folks, you can follow her at WFLA Beth for the latest in the stories that she covers right here in the Tampa Bay area for WFLA News Channel 8. Beth, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll let you get back to it.
Sure thing.
All right, back here with you live, folks, on WFLA Now. This is from Eagle 8 HD, and this is live. It was, we had a little bit of some different angles to be able to show you earlier on. This is recorded video from earlier, but we're going to stay here with you live and try to answer, too, some of the questions that we have out of the YouTube live comment section. We'll just spend another few minutes on stream answering questions, and I'll look for the ones with #HeyJB if we see them in the YouTube live comment section. So I think we had a few coming in, and Roxanne says, #HeyJB, please pass on our love and blessings from Australia. Beautiful country, beautiful human beings, only a few make you seem negative. God bless from Australia, JB. Goes to show that that Florida news, or U.S. news, American news, it does, of course, reach people around the world, and in a lot of cases, it does reach people around the world through live streaming. And yeah, this is another incident involving a potential shooting here in Hillsborough County, Florida. Looking for some other questions and comments. I'll keep an eye on the YouTube live comment section. Bouncing over now back to Facebook to see if there's anything else I can clear up before we get going. Selena says, #HeyJB location. Again, this is Waimama, southeastern Hillsborough County. About half an hour drive with traffic, 45 or so from Tampa, Florida. Tara Pletcher got this question in right before Beth was wrapping up. And it says, #HeyJB, do we have an understanding who the second person is inside the shed with the man barricaded? Are they both suspects or is one a hostage? This is unclear. This is a great question. Something that we're trying to get cleared up, who the second person is inside that shed. Also, too, whether or not they are deemed a threat or whether or not they are deemed a victim in this case of some kind, whether it be a hostage or somebody that is being held against their will in a situation involving law enforcement. So we'll, of course, get the very latest once we know about the answer to this question. We don't have an answer to that question at this time. We are awaiting an update from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Susan saying in our comment section, #HeyJB praying. It could happen anywhere. Yeah, it could happen anywhere. And it has happened in a lot of states across the country. It's not situations with armed individuals being barricaded or being involved in standoffs with tactical teams, with law enforcement. That is not exclusive to Florida. It's not exclusive to any state in this country. It happens across the United States. And we'll try to pass along information to you as to why this is happening and more about the suspect that, again, has been barricaded since early this morning. Going back to YouTube for just one more second. Zaida says, #HeyJB, is this incident gang related? There is no indication at this time that this has any affiliation with any gang whatsoever. And I'm not seeing other. Jess Lynn asking, #HeyJB, do you think he has mental health issues? Can't say. You can't say if somebody has suffered from if it's a long-term issue with mental health. Can't say. Oftentimes what you'll see in situations such as this is somebody, if it's not something that involves long-term mental health, there could be a particular incident that spurs a mental health related episode, somebody to go into a state of panic, or there's a sense of desperation that will set in. Maybe it's not directly connected to a long-term mental health issue that goes back years and years, but something. Oftentimes what we will see when it comes to situations like this involving law enforcement and somebody who gets, is barricaded or somebody who is wanted, sometimes it can be a very, very sudden and abrupt change to a person's life. And in an act of desperation, that person will either barricade themselves or try to get away from police and go on the run. There's a lot of different scenarios at play here, but we can't say whether or not this person is suffering from a mental health issue. And that, of course, is going to have to come out in time as the results of the pending investigation, or really the investigation that's already active, those investigation results are released. Charlie Bourne with a great question on YouTube Live, #HeyJB, when did the standoff begin? We don't know. We have tried to get in touch with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office to get us a time, but it was dark when it started, because it started overnight at some point in the early morning hours. Beth got there around 6 a.m. and it had been some time since the standoff had began at that point. So it's been many, many hours. The time now is 10:21 Eastern time. So it's been going on for at least 5 or so hours, 5+ hours. And again, there could be an update. There do appear to be signs of de-escalation with vehicles now leaving the scene. Very important to note that as Beth was reporting there for us live, there was a forensic vehicle that pulled up to the scene. You can't connect those dots and say definitively that the standoff is over, but there are certain signs that we're paying attention to that could indicate that we are closer to a resolution than we are to the beginning of this actually unfolding. And again, this is live from Eagle 8 HD here on the right side of your screen. I'm not seeing too many other comments. I'll give it just another moment or so here with our hashtag system, if there's anything that we can pass along to you and be a helpful resource for you and answer questions for you and keep the public updated. Oh, here's this one. So Waleska has a good question, and it says, #HeyJB, I saw this in the news this morning. Now I read one dead, but is it one of the two people barricaded? No, as we understand it and what we believe at this time is that it is a person dead, another person is the armed suspect, and then a secondary individual also located inside of this shed. I believe that that's what, as it's been described to us, but this all kind of changed when a couple of hours ago we got news of a person found dead during this armed standoff. Who that person is, their relation to the armed suspect, and how they fit into what has transpired here remains to be seen. Oftentimes, a question like this gets answered in that first press conference. So if we do get a press conference that begins from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, whether it's Sheriff Chad Chronister or the public information team that is out there, we'll go back here with you live. We're going to end our live stream now in just a moment. But again, we might go back live from Wimauma if we have an update in the form of a press conference, whether it be involving Chronister or somebody else that is speaking on behalf of HCSO. So folks, the very latest on this story, it's on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. One person found dead during an armed standoff in Wimauma, Florida. Bottom left corner of your screen, that is live from Eagle 8 HD. Eagle 8 HD keeping its distance, again, to cooperate with law enforcement, with this, again, being an active scene, trying to keep its distance to, again, not give away any information that is sensitive to the ongoing operation on the ground. Folks, the very latest in the story, you can click on the link in the description on this video. You might see it in the pinned comment below. The very latest on this story on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. We'll be back here live with you on WFLA Now if we get any updates from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office.